Okay, and we are back with
Yo,
the top four of the Evo Gaming Tavern Hero.
yes, this
It's
is currently
me,
the semifinals
yes, the
for
semifinals of Group
Group
A.
A. Yes,
I'm joined by Namian. Alec had to go because he has a life and a girlfriend that he wants to spend his New Year's with. So we are
and
here.
a really cool New Year's party with a fancy hat.
Yeah, something like that. It's
Yeah, right.
fancy exploding hat.
Okay.
So we see here the Pirate versus Dragon Warrior. Grizzlycheek on Dragon and Genesis on more of a straightforward.
Usually the dragon one has a better advantage here, right? Because the late game has more taunts to basically stop the aggression.
Yeah, he has a lot of early ways and bigger charge minions to sort of stave off the Buccaneers and the Pirates and beat up on synergies.
hmm
Um,
So you've been watching Genesis all day. Does he have anything in the late game that's different from the usual pirate, or is it just what it is?
no, it's pretty straightforward. Genesis has been playing it well and getting it very good draws.
That's good.
As a result, there's not really much outside of just like smacking your opponent in the face that you
hmm
can really feel bad about.
Okay.
Also, transition back. So
Oh,
let's see
it'd
here
be
something
nice
that
to
probably would be nice
change
to
the
actually see.
screen. Okay, so that's a snap play right there.
Yeah, he just maintains the board presence with the Nizaz first mate and clears off the Buccaneer. Buccaneer a little bit more daunting than
Yeah.
Nizaz first mate.
So he's thinking about this now. Is there anything really to think about here? I don't think there's any chance that you wouldn't clear the small time.
He's thinking about whether or not this draws the trade from his own Buccaneer
hmm
because you get a little bit more of a charge and you get to push one more damage.
hmm
It's really unfortunate if he has seen any other cards from his opponent. Like if he knows for sure that his opponent is Dragon, that's a pretty easy decision to make
hmm
because you just want to clear off the board. You see things like Alexstras's Champion,
Yeah.
you see Frothing Berserker, a lot of ways to punish.
Okay.
And we're getting late into the tournament. Like people should know everything that their opponents are playing at this
People are
point.
also really tired,
Yes, yes, yes,
so
yes.
some decisions might be muddled by now.
Yep.
Like so, him taking an extra moment to make sure that he's making the correct decision is probably good. Genesis has also been sitting out for a long time,
Yeah.
so he's just been waiting. Like I don't know what he's been doing while waiting.
I feel like that's a little bit more of an incentive for him to be for him more prepared in this matchup.
Yeah.
Grizzlycheek was playing maybe like 5 or 10 minutes ago, and
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
she's been
Yeah.
playing all day. So
hmm So the draw here isn't that great right now.
no.
Um, I'm sure right now Genesis should just keep going face
Yeah,
because he's holding double Arcanine Reaper.
he chooses to play this out. What do you think about the pirate over the Mortal Strike just to maintain the board presence since he has double Arcanite Reaper in hand?
I think because he sees that it's Dragon Warrior, the Mortal Strike might be able to take down like a taunt later, like the monkey
Yeah.
maybe, to try and get through. But honestly, like it's looking really bad right now. Seeing Grizzly's hand,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
honestly see I honestly see a Garrosh. It's Does the Dragon Warrior typically run a Garrosh at the top end? I thought it would usually just be a Ragnaros.
Uh, there's a pretty wide variety between since the mean streaks has come out.
hmm
Between Don Hancho, Curator, like all these cards that are inclusions, like it just gives you a really broad range
Okay,
of
I
spells
haven't
that you
seen
can
a
play.
Don Hancho yet.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
In the first couple of weeks, I saw a lot of play. It's sort of fallen out of favor
Okay, okay.
as of yet, but like so has Dragon Warrior,
That's
like all together. It's really
really
more of a tournament deck. So.
that's yeah, yeah. That's what I figured. Yeah. Double Mortal Strike, double Arcanite Reaper.
Yep.
Um, I mean, there's a chance if Grizzly doesn't draw into another dragon right now, and he has like a good amount of armor ups, because his Dragon Warrior is a little slower than a pirate.
Yeah. I like this strategy a lot. However, like he's sort of taking his own damage so that he can enable these two Mortal Strikes that are in hand,
Yes,
and this
because
is
the Dragon Warrior shouldn't have as much burst
exactly.
as the pirate.
And
I,
also, if he gets to the point where he is at 12, that means he can start like freely armoring back up.
while maintaining the Mortal Strike damage,
Exactly.
because next turn, because potentially just Mortal Strike armor up.
Yep. How do you
So
think Grizzly responds? He did just draw this Rothic Berserker, so
I might just throw down the Frothing and clear the Bloodsail,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
then either armor up or equip the War Axe,
He has
so you can open up the mana next turn a little more.
yeah, he has a lot of flexibility next turn. He doesn't have another dragon in hand, so he probably doesn't cast this Guardian next turn either, unless he rips like Fairy Dragon or maybe even Azure Drake.
It could be the Draconoid, the 6/6.
Yeah, Draconite Crusher is
hmm
pretty solid as well.
Okay.
And we see
So
he's
he
just gonna
feels
go with the War Axe.
yeah, he feels at a safe enough health so that he doesn't really need it,
Yeah,
and he can see that the opponent's at 13, so the Mortal Strike isn't enabled.
absolutely.
hmm Would you swing Arcanite and then equip Arcanite upgrade, or would you try to fit in an armor up here and clear the Berserker with the Mortal Strike.
I'm not sure if he has enough time to equip the second Arcanite Reaper,
Uh-huh.
and regardless of how if he armors up or not, he's going to take enough damage to have these Mortal Strikes enabled.
hmm
So this actually is a pretty good time to just like set up the upgrade, which we see Genesis doing.
hmm Would you throw the Mortal Strike here at the face and then hope that they don't have enough taunt for like the second Mortal Strike and the Arcanite to finish off?
I would, but I have perfect information. uh, there's there's a lot that he has to consider because the Twilight Guardian that we can see has been sitting in his hand for quite some time, and
Yes.
it could be any number of cards, which is
hmm
kind of difficult
hmm
to process from his perspective.
hmm
At a certain point, like the second Mortal Strike gets there along just as easily as two would.
hmm
Um, so just maintaining his own life total seems pretty fair.
hmm Okay.
Things like Cork on Elite, like Sousy Deckhand
hmm
would have killed just as easily here.
So we see him swing face with the War Axe after getting past the 12 hit point threshold because it's basically a race at this point. He's
Yeah.
already seen the one Mortal Strike,
Yep.
so he's probably not as scared of the second one because the chances of holding the second one is kind of
I think this is actually much simpler than he's giving it credit for, but he's also probably just taking a lot of time to
just to
just
think about all
process
the
everything,
outs.
think about all the
Yeah.
outs. This Berserker represents a lot going forward, and this Mortal Strike again is much more useful to just keeping him alive
hmm
to develop the Arcanite Reaper damage
hmm
than it is to actually just win the game. But we see he's just going to go for it. He's going to armor up. Grizzlycheek needs one extra damage, but he also gets the taunt damage going forward, and we see
Ooh.
he's going to get that as a result.
Is there a reason he held the Arcanite swing?
He had just won. That's right.
Oh, okay.
Which this was a pretty ambitious usage of Mortal Strike. I think if he just holds it and like plays the Berserker, there's very little way outside of that to lose that game. So we
Yeah.
see Grizzlycheek taking it with his Dragon Warrior deck, and the remaining classes for Grizzly are Warlock and Shaman.
hmm
Which do you think he leads with next?
Warlock and Shaman left. Let's see. With the is the Warlock a Reno lock? Most likely, right?
Yeah,
Because
I think we can assume so.
yeah.
I believe he was playing against Christina, who he just eliminated from the event. He was playing Warlock versus his rogue versus Christina's rogue.
Okay. I think both have a really good matchup because the aggro warrior, because the shaman just has so much AoE.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think both are really good. Unless his warlock is teched more towards the late game. Yeah, with
I,
like stuff like more stuff like Nevers or like Jiraxis and stuff.
I believe he does have Nether. I don't know if he has Traxxas,
hmm
but regardless, he's going to lead with the Shaman, which
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
is a
the
fair
shaman's a good choice.
consideration.
Yes.
Yeah. Once you've confirmed that it's actually Pirate, I think it's fair to just
Yeah.
try and control,
hmm
take your best matchup, and take it slow. It's been a
hmm
long day, so just
Yeah. So we see in Grizzly hand it's two lightnings and a hex. So would you just keep one lightning?
we see that he's going to keep one lightning bolt. I think
He sent a hex back and he got a hex back.
yeah, there's there's a lot of value to be had with the one lightning bolt, but
Yeah.
he doesn't have any minions to develop. If he's playing Tunnel Trog and Totem Golem, I think you want to lead with those and possibly Spirit Claws to try and win the early game.
hmm
Because as we can see here, like these things will get out of hand very quickly.
Yes.
Picks up a Jade Claws for his trouble though, so this is going to be very
That's
very
very
efficient
good.
at beating
hmm
winning the early game. This is one of the best draws that he could have possibly gotten
Yeah.
because it develops the mana and it also works as a removal spell.
hmm Hmm. That's very good.
Yeah, Strike Corsair is really good at developing damage. He gets several extra turns. He also gets the War Axe. The second War Axe to be used before he goes in the Arcanite Reaper, which I think is just him just like trying to maximize his damage over time.
hmm if he draws into like a Berserker or a Bloodsail Corsair, the the 3-drop,
Yeah, but
yeah, yeah. So that gives him a really good turn 4 with the War Axe and the Raider.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So we see he has a Bloodlust. Grizzly has a Bloodlust here. Would you Lightning Bolt here, or would you? I think that's like the only choice basically right
Yeah,
now,
I
right?
think it's the only choice. This is a really complicated situation, but he did use the coin, so he might
Ooh.
just see that there's a like a little bit of a weakness
hmm
on Genesis's side,
Yes.
since he was so eager to coin out this Dread Corsair. We see that that's not the case, as he just plays out the Bloodsail Raider,
Hmm.
but he's gonna have to, he only gets an access to hero power this turn unless he wants to foil,
Hmm.
which he just ripped.
Okay.
And the initiative shifting back and forth. Since Grizzlycheeks seems like more of a mid-range deck, he will have access to more healing cards and more taunt minions. So this still seems pretty favorable, but Genesis is very much in the driver's seat at the moment.
Okay. And Grizzly right now can exhaust his resources in order to control the board because he has the Mana Tide later to recoup.
Exactly.
But right now, he's Genesis is able to deal a lot of damage to their face right now.
Yeah. Genesis is just strictly on the beatdown at the moment.
Yeah. Next turn it's most likely Kokon Elite,
Yep.
and then the following turn will be an Arcanite Reaper. Yeah.
He leads with J-Lang. Do you... Oh, this is interesting.
Yes. Oh. Is there a reason?
I think...
Like,
Yeah, this is pretty interesting.
it's a bit of a safer play, but I don't know. Like knowing how Shaman matchups work, and sometimes like they can just go if they went into the Spirit Wolves, that would have been really bad if he had been able to top deck that.
I think so. I think you have to just go for it. It's really consistent with the way that he's been playing the past couple turns.
Yeah.
Just like being very, very aggressive and trying to get things finished in the shortest amount of turns. I actually
So for
like,
him to clear the 2/2 felt a little weird to me.
yeah. I also would have. I actually would have just preferred him just flat out play the Arcanite Reaper and just hit
Just
him.
to get
Yeah,
as much damage in
just
before
hit him
any
in 9 and
taunts
then
come in. Yeah.
follow it up with the Corkron Elite.
Hmm.
Because now this is a
He's
much more
giving
awkward
basically
situation.
he's giving Grizzly more chances to get like an answer.
Exactly, exactly. Even if he misses here, we see that he picks up the hex. Like in a desperation move,
He could hex his
he could hex
own
his own guy, yeah.
totem or something.
Which I think we'll see momentarily.
Yes.
Oh, that is if Grizzly sees it.
Oh, that's true. It has been a long day. Oh, he does.
Yep,
Yeah, that's
yep,
good.
yep.
Ooh.
Gain free life and you get a free frog. What could go wrong?
Is there any chance you would have hexed the spell totem instead of the 1/1?
There's a little bit more consideration for the spell power totem since we know he has double bolt and he has an extra Jade Lightning left in
That's
his
true.
deck. Also, like Lightning Storm.
Mm.
I think at this point in the game, if a minion is to stick, then it is much like you're dying to that minion. So
Right.
I'd rather be able to guarantee something with this Lightning Storm.
Okay. So we see that he got a thing from below. That's definitely going to be dropped this turn.
Absolutely.
It's does he totem, make it a 3, and then also play like a lightning and hope to high roll on the berserker?
I think he's considering. Oh, he might be considering foregoing that. We see. Oh, never mind.
Oh, that's perfect.
Because it's really tough from this position because you still have to consider things like Mortal Strike. You have to consider South Sea Deckhand still. You have to consider Finley into
Yes,
Steady Shot.
that's true.
So he's not thinking about like simply how to survive. Ideally, he's not thinking about simply how to survive. He's thinking about how do I progress this game to a situation where I can actually win as well.
Yes.
And having an extra taunt is step one.
Yeah, for sure. The flame tongue is going to be really good for after he starts recovering.
Yes. And it is a very clean way to just deal with this Frothing Berserk at the moment.
Hmm.
He's out of hexes though, so he can't make another frog play. But luckily his hero power has a 1 in 3 to produce another taunt. Which I guess we'll see momentarily.
If he doesn't roll the Tauntaum, are there any more outs? I don't think.
Not if he uses his mana, because he can't draw cards. We see he has a 2 in 15 theoretically for
Another thing from below? Wow.
but we see just flat out
Yeah.
like a champion.
Would you Jade Lightning here? Most likely, right?
I would
Or would
probably
you do the?
I would develop I would probably develop the Drake
Hmm. I was
because
thinking about the Drake.
it's bigger and you get to cycle to the Pharaoh spirits that we were just talking about.
Hmm. Or
But
potentially drawn to the other thing from below, which should be a 2 mana now.
yes, exactly.
Okay. but
But we
we
see he's
see
going to try and shift on the defensive, which is good. Good on him.
very good because if you don't start soon, then you can't win, and you're just eternally like afraid of
Exactly.
the mortal strike.
Oh,
Ooh,
and that's going to
oh,
be it.
oh well. Okay. So is there anything different you would have done with that?
With this on Grizzly's side, I think on Genesis side, I 100% just go for it on the 2 turn clock. It's very complicated
Mm-hmm.
to set yourself into that position where you give up the Cork Run late just for the sake of the War Axe
Mm-hmm,
charge,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
because you can just put him to 5, and that also leaves like Mortal Strike and Fiddly as I said before.
Right. It
Um,
gives you other ways to basically kill him.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
On Grizzly's side, it was really just a matter of him trying to find any amount of life gain
Mm-hmm.
or any amount of like consistent taunts. Feral Spirits would have been very, very good for him because we saw that there was only double heroic strike. He didn't have an efficient way to get through taunts.
Right.
But
Basically, like he had to do multiple attacks in order to get through, but his hand was really clunky.
yeah, all things considered, I think he maximized his odds very well. He identified the hex play.
Mm-hmm,
He
mm-hmm,
rolled the spell power totem. I mean the taunt totem when he needed to.
mm-hmm. That's good.
It's not much outside of that that he could have done.
Yeah. So he's sticking on the shaman to go into against the Reno lock. Seeing Leroy always assumes that there's a combo
Yeah.
in Reno lock. Is there like a Reno lock without combo that you know?
There used to be, but
Hmm.
most Reno lock decks seem to just be completely invested into the combo. It's too efficient not to play at this point.
Right, because it's just a 3 card combo.
Yeah. The real consideration, as we see Genesis draws now, is whether or not to play Jiraxis, which is really good at beating any control
A control,
warriors if
yes.
there were to be any.
Hmm.
It's also good against Reno Mage in certain situations where the game goes to fatigue.
And priest.
Yes, and Priest.
So we see that he life tapped here. Would you have peddlered instead,
No,
or no?
no. He's doing like Peddler is very efficient, and then you also need a lot more information going forward.
Hmm.
There's also, since we see that he's not on the coin, you're gonna see Genesis try to like maximize his hand size for the Twilight Drake that and a Mountain Giant that we just see him draw.
I see.
If he gains an efficient way to control the board and then follows it up with either Twilight Drake or Mountain Giant, he has a threat that's difficult to remove and easy for him to still close out the game with.
Okay. So the way I usually see it though is peddler on 2 doesn't really disrupt your hand count because he's filling a card back in.
Yeah.
But I guess you'd rather draw from your deck than generate a
Exactly,
random card. Okay.
exactly. You're just trying to find, like we see that he has Reno in hand, he doesn't mind tapping,
Yes.
and also versus the Tunnel Trog, it doesn't contest that well. So you'd rather just forego it in favor of the card.
I see.
I see Twilight Drake. This is very, very difficult for him for Grizzly to deal with. If he
Yes.
were to have a Hex, it would be entirely justifiable for him to use
Yes.
it right now.
Genesis is basically asking if he has a hex right now,
Yeah.
and if he sees that he doesn't, then moving forward he knows that he's a little safer, like putting down bigger creatures.
One consideration that I think I have over Grizzly's deck is this Jade Spirit. Between this game and last game, it hasn't really had a good position to be cast.
Yeah, there's no good time to do it because
Yeah.
there's always a threat that needs to be removed. So dropping the Jade Spirit is really clunky.
Yeah.
Like you drop it and then you'd make a wider board, but that doesn't really help you.
Especially playing any overload spells sort of complicates the math for when this is efficiently cast. You see him casting it here,
Ooh,
but it also like it does very minimal.
yeah.
Oh, and
Ooh, a lot of good cards
yep.
coming out for Genesis right now. I think that's fair.
Oh, yeah, this is pretty fair. That's a very efficient Demon Wrath, and it also he can follow it up with Emperor.
Yes. A lot of the Shaman cards have 3 health anyway, so a Demon Wrath probably won't get as much value as compared to the turn just now.
Exactly. Sam probably going to respond well, leaving himself with initiative. He does have that bolt. He does have an efficient trade with this Drake, which makes the face attack very good on Genesis's part.
Yes. I think you just dropped Doris in here, don't you?
Yeah, I agree.
There's too many cards.
He doesn't have any combo pieces, but it's still just an efficient
It's
threat.
just good value.
Yeah, he got rid of several removal spells from his opponent.
Hmm. I think going forward, it's hard. It would be hard to find a better time to drop the Thorson.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Even
he has
if
the Reno.
even if it earns the Flame Tongue Totem, then this is still very efficient for him.
Yes. If you drop a forest and you're also, ooh, okay.
This is a little bit more interesting. So this actually cost him several turns without this Emperor now.
Yeah,
But do you think that he just plans on like winning the board and finding those combo pieces to discount before he actually goes on the Emperor?
I think that's really greedy because uh, because going forward, I think it's real. Yeah, like I said before, it's hard to drop the Thorson later because right now he's trying to stop Grizzly's board from developing, but I think it'll just keep getting wider because that's what shamans essentially do. And you don't have an AoE right now unless you're trying to bait a wider board so you can try to MC tech it,
Yeah.
maybe get some value out.
Perhaps perhaps now that he's gotten rid of one of the demon routes and he's like playing into Hellfire, his concern isn't discounting with things, it's just playing things, and this maximizes the amount of power and totems that he can clean out going forward
Mm,
so that he can maybe go into Emperor and like conserve his life total. I think it's a bit early for that,
mm-hmm.
but if he wanted to seal this game for maybe like a 95% win percentage, which he's at to 100%, then using these resources and these taunts to get a little bit more value to play into something might be the way to go about it.
Mm, okay. Ooh,
Oh,
that's a good card.
yes.
Oh, huh. Okay. I don't I don't disagree because the only other option would have been maybe a mountain giant
Yeah.
because you just saw that the hex was used and he didn't have a hex earlier for the Twilight Drake.
I mean, this is sort of consistent with his line of thought. Is just
Yes. Mm-hmm,
make
mm-hmm.
sure that nothing is on the board,
Yeah.
and then you finally go into your threats.
Mm-hmm.
This is much more conservative, but I think it's fair going forward because he has a lot of spot removal spells to play into, and if the shaman were playing things like Jade Spirit, it would be kind of clunky for them to develop their bigger minions. Maybe that's a stronger thing that he's considering going forward.
Mm.
Just like being able to develop something in tap or developing something in Siphon Soul and having the board be clear, like kind of allows you to do that with these 3 drops.
But we see that it's most likely going to be two Fing from Belows coming down.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there any reason not to drop the second one?
Twisting Nether. He's going into a really efficient Twisting Nether turn.
That's true. Hmm.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting.
Okay. So as we're seeing this, it looks like the rag will most likely be a decider right here.
Yeah.
And I think if the rag were to come down, the only answer would to probably be an MC tech
Yes.
and the Reno. Hope for the best.
Well, he has a fair amount of targets. One of the 5/5s almost certainly trades into the 3/3. Since he's not presenting lethal with the
Yes,
reg flip.
I think the Mountain Giant's probably gonna stay,
Yeah.
and the rag flip to 50-50 chance to kill it.
Yep.
Mm, okay.
It's just that.
Okay.
So Genesis is really asking for this. Oh, that's a good flip
Ooh, yes.
for Grizzly.
Okay.
There you
Wow,
go, snaps it off.
snapped
Just
it.
doesn't even question it.
Yeah.
Gets the second worst of the bunch.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Okay. So this is weird because the Bloodlust has been like a dead card in games one and or both games so far for Grizzly.
Yeah. We see now he has the option to fire off both these portals. Like if he wants to really go for it, you can set yourself up with a charge to have a 1 in 3 for lethal. It's kind of ambitious of a play from Grizzlycheek.
Would you Arya here and hope maybe a Sylvana shot ends up takes the golem instead of the rag?
I think if he's going to do something, if he's going to do something that isn't double Maelstrom Portal into Bloodlust, it starts with hero power. We see that he is leading with the portal without hero powering, so this might be the
Yeah, he
play he's
could
going
have
for.
wasted a spell power. Whoa.
Yep, he's going for it. I guess he could trade into the Sylvanas. It's a
He
one.
trade a taunt totem into Sylvana?
He could. He's
Oh, he's
probably just
going
gonna pressure the life
face.
total, but this is gonna get punished. Oh,
Oh wow. Wow.
yeah,
Okay. This is definitely a Reno. It's just
yeah. Just how do you value this? How do you order this Sylvanas? It could be,
would you tap first?
yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Oh
ho
wow.
ho.
What an
Okay,
answer. But okay, so the thing is if you Shadow Flame here, you are vulnerable to the lava burst.
perhaps. Oh, ow.
Wow. That's yeah, that's
Yeah.
incredible.
Never mind. That is incredible.
Wow, and he grabs the power overwhelming.
Well then,
That's that
that,
was
some good old-fashioned
interesting turn
Hearthstone.
of events. Yes. Wow. Okay. That's correct. Okay. So he has to go wide here, but we see that that Shadow Flame is going to be really
Yeah,
deadly.
Shadow Flame very efficient for him.
Wow, he almost Shadow Flamed
Yeah.
the right. That would have been unfortunate. You probably place the Shambler down right now.
Yep. You could
Is he
tap.
really?
You could
Okay.
tap to find combo.
Yeah.
A lot of options here.
Oh wow, next turn he has the brand Kazakus. I think at this point it's just to
Yeah, even if he like misses, there's no single draw that puts him back in the situation.
okay. What's this?
Oh,
Izzy got it right.
why?
Okay. Right. Well, as this is going on, we just learned that in Group B, Terrence just lost to Izzy Flow, so
Yeah.
the Izzy Flow will be fighting the winner of the match after this. So we still have 3 matches to go. But I think this is pretty unnecessary at this point, right?
Yeah, we're just going through the motions at this point now.
Yeah. Uh,
Genesis is quite handily.
yeah. There's no way for Shaman to knock down 28 life. Like, would you just stop throwing cards down at this point? Just to, just to show, not show the cards in your deck?
I think at this point, people know what
And
cards
and,
are in their
and I'm
deck.
sure
Yeah.
mid-range or so Shaman is pretty standard, but
There's perhaps maximizing the amount of information you might need from your opponent
hmm
going forward.
hmm
Not at this junction since I believe they're in the losers bracket, right? So this is an elimination match,
yes, this is elimination.
but it's somewhat irrelevant
Yeah.
going forward with this.
Yeah.
We see that Genesis is just going through the motions,
hmm
gets a good hit, and this should be the concession here, I believe.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right. Wow, that was fun. Okay, so now Genesis is left only on a shaman. What do you think of the Druid ban from Grizzly?
From Grizzly, well, Grizzly brings a lot of control decks,
hmm
short of the Dragon Warrior deck. I think that he really values not getting outclassed on the mana
hmm
because that's a really easy way to fall behind, both
hmm
in his Jade Shaman deck and what is presumably his own Arena Lock deck. Like
hmm
being able to just jam a bunch of vanilla 7/7s and 8/8s and 5/10s with Ancient of War and the Jade Golems
hmm
is really difficult on all of his archetypes.
hmm Okay, so we see it's going to be a shaman mirror. I think Grizzly just wants to get the mirror out of the way because
Yes,
I think
yes.
the Warlock matchup does have a good matchup against the shaman. Hmm? Oh,
Yeah, this is the most volatile of the bunch so far. But Genesis is a very good hand for this.
right.
Oh, but we see
Okay.
he leads with his Buccaneer and Trog. This is probably one of the ways uh to fall behind fast in this matchup. We see that Grizzly doesn't have the punish.
Yeah. Genesis went really aggressive with this
Yeah,
play.
it's very aggressive. Grizzly is one of the slower. types of mid range shaman decks.
Right.
So once he does find that storm, I think that this will really turn into his favor.
Hmm.
Whether or not he'll have the time to find it is to be said. He still has those two Jade Spirits that we said were very difficult from the cast. He just picked up Aya instead of any actual removal.
Yeah.
It's
Having
very,
to throw down a mana tide totem in the face of three creatures is pretty rough.
yeah, it's a very clunky draw for him.
Yeah. So going back to what I was saying earlier, do you think those turns gave out a little too much information just to dragging the game out a little longer?
I think they I think the amount of information that a player who has at least gotten this far in a tournament, like everybody who's left, has a basic understanding of Hearthstone
Hmm.
and the metagame as a whole. So
Hmm.
once you actually see, like, in all honesty, Genesis probably figured out what he was playing by the time the Jade Spirit was cast.
Right. Right.
But if he really wanted to like conceal specific tech cards, that would have been a little bit of a closer consideration and
Okay.
would have been a much more specific situation for.
Yeah. Yeah. So we see that Genesis has a lot of burn in his hand right now.
Yeah, he's just gonna keep hitting down, hope that there's no lightning storm in his future.
Hmm.
And since there's a lava burst in hand, I don't think this game is gonna go much longer,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah. I don't see any outs
Yeah, it's very
because
unfortunate for
he
Grizzlycheeks.
the overload makes it so that he can only cast the totem golem or the hex, and both don't really help right now. He can hex the flame tongue, but then we can see that the lava burst will be yeah, lava
Yeah,
burst is lethal and top deck chain lightning. All right, wow,
yeah, it's
that
gonna be
was really fast.
a very quick set,
Yes.
and
All
Genesis
right.
takes it.
Yep. Genesis takes a 3-1, and I will be putting that in. All right.
And we will be back
Whoa.
momentarily with our next match.
Yes. Unless we might be jumping into it right away. Let's
Oh,
see.
actually, are we?
I think we should because it's been a long day. It's almost 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right. So Genesis takes a 3-1. So, Tim, are we gonna be doing Genesis versus HC, or are we gonna do and then the winner of that faces Izzy for the grand finals? So, all right. So Genesis will be probably have like a minute intermission right now. Like they're just we just letting them set up. Yep. All right. So we'll be back in a bit.